y'all. Welcome to the Career and Technical Education Podcast. I'm Brandon Grace.
I'm Randall Hust.
And today we are here with Adria Salvatore from the Architectural Woodworking Institute. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing great.
We're great. Adria,
Good.
welcome to the podcast. We're so glad that you wanted to be a part of what we're doing here today. Obviously, you already know that we're all about career and technical education and really trying to enhance programs across the nation. And so I'm really glad that you decided to be a part. Just looking over your bio, you have done some amazing things. Introduce Adria Salvatore to the world.
Oh boy. I'm trying to keep up with the pack. I know a lot of really impressive people, including Brandon and getting to know you and everything, but like so many people through Career Tech Ed and Skills USA and ACTE. So it's just such a vibrant community with a lot of people that are really passionate about Career Tech Ed and supporting students in their future. So it's been wonderful to be able to be a part of that for 18 years now in different aspects and arenas. But I started out completely unrelated prior to the roles and the career path I'm in now. I was in banking for a little bit. I was in manufacturing slightly. And when I was getting my graduate degree in marketing, I knew that I wanted to be at a company or an organization that kind of made a difference. I was looking for nonprofit work. And something where I wouldn't be just like a part of a corporate cog in the wheel sort of thing. And so I came across this job position that sounded really intriguing. It had to do with woodworking, which I know nothing about. And I interviewed with who would become my boss at the time, and I just completely fell in love with her. She's an amazing person, and so I knew. I guess that's a lesson that I like to share with students a lot of times when I talk with them is that, kind of trust your gut, follow your instinct. And even if you don't fully understand the job sometimes or, feel like you're fully qualified for it, if you're having a connection with the people, that means a lot. And the other things you can grow with, and your skills will develop through time if you feel like you're in the right environment and the right culture. So that was 2007. I started working at that acronym is called AWFS, the Association of Woodworking and Furnishing Suppliers. And so that's where I got to do most of the things that you see on that bio. Specifically, I got really involved in Skills USA in California at the state level, and then ACTE, and basically being part of a team that runs a major trade show in Las Vegas. So that was a wonderful experience. I was there for 17 years. And then last year, I transitioned over to another trade association, AWI, where I'm doing similar work, but just a different kind of context and format.
That's awesome. Being a carpenter, before I became an educator and all the things, I was actually a master carpenter. And so very familiar with AWI and the things that you guys do and obviously the standards that y'all put out. So,
cool.
And then even as a construction teacher, utilized, of course, you guys put on our state contest every year, which is amazing. And one of the things I've always loved about it is you guys were always very free with your plans, with the drawings. Once the contest was going, anybody that walked by, man, they had copies of plans for everybody. And so I started collecting just different years of projects, and that's what we would work on as we're getting ready for contest. And as a matter of fact, one of the projects I did every single year was a California state contest, I think from 2015, which was a neat little cabinet, and I bet we've built 1,000 of those here, so which is really cool.
That was my team. I know exactly
go.
who I know. I can't picture that project, but I know.
It's the one with a little hidden compartment in the top. Super cool.
Okay,
Oh, the kids
I
loved
know
it.
exactly who did that, and I was
Kids
there when
loved
that was
it.
drawn up and designed. So that's awesome. That totally makes my day, Randall, because we were really proud about that. That's really important to us. And so that was, if you got it from California, that means you got it with from AWFS. And they have a wonderful archive. So any woodworking teachers that are listening, if you go to awfs.org, and you look under their education section, they have a great archive of state plans. And then here at AWI, we run the national contest, and we also share plans when we can. And we're working to develop a library of all state plans. So we're trying to identify the contest coordinators in all the states that run the cabinet making contest and so that we can share plans for exactly how you described, for that reason. And we know a lot of teachers who can't have a Skills USA chapter at this time or aren't actively competing, but they still find those plans to be really helpful, and they use them as lessons or just throughout the year. And we love that because we take those plans really seriously. And we do a lot to make sure that they're aligned with what's happening in industry. That's really important to us. And a lot of thought and love goes into them. So we love to hear that they're useful for teachers, and the students enjoy building them. And that's great to hear.
That's wonderful. From an industry perspective, I always saw AWI as just, that was that standard book that cabinet making had to happen by. I never really thought beyond, almost like a governing or overseeing body. Had no idea that you guys had such intricate connections into career development, student development. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Skills USA.
Well, that dates back with AWI. It dates back, I believe, I recently learned 40 years. So I think and then kind of going back to my role at AWFS, we were new to Skills USA when we hopped in 15 years ago. We kind of learned about it and everything. So had we been communicating with our industry partners and fellow associations, we would have known the deep history that AWI has. But I think AWI and the leaders at that time, this would have probably been in the 80s, recognized the value of CT or Skills USA and VICA at the time, and that reaching students at that level and that age through such like a fun, exciting event was just critical and so valuable. So yeah, I think we're fortunate at AWI that while we're doing the hard, tedious work of creating the standards, which is what we're known for and very, very important, we also have the flexibility and the resources to be able to support things like career awareness and student support. And now more than ever, I mean, the past 15 years, I've seen obviously the need for more career awareness and workforce development happen. And the woodworking industry can be slow about some things. And so while other industries kind of caught on a little more quickly on recruiting and attracting students to their industries, we're now kind of in the thick of it with woodworking. And it's like all hands on deck. Everyone's trying to work on ways to attract students and to get them trained and brought into our industry. So it's very exciting that at AWI, we've been at the forefront of that for a very long time through Skills USA and other efforts. And we're kind of known for that. So we have become a leader. It's really cool.
You guys really are leading the way. And I hope that other industries, as they're listening out there, really would take that charge as well, because, the fact is, we know there's a huge skills gap. We know the trades are suffering from folks not going in. And you guys have had the foresight now for many, many years to invest back into really that seed. And so I hope that other industries are following that and hearing, maybe even listening to this podcast and thinking, okay, maybe it is a worthwhile investment, because it truly is.
Absolutely. I always recommend it when I can. Big
Right.
advocate.
So you also do some work. Speaking of business and industry, getting involved, we've talked with about Skills USA, and now you do a lot of work with ACTE, and you were a founding member of the Business and Industry Coalition. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a really long name. It's the Coalition for Workforce Development through CTE. And I think we all know Steve DeWitt. He's awesome. Shout out to Steve. He's the best. So he had the foresight. This would have been around 2017. Some of us from industry, I would say that was a peak, those years in the late teens, where a lot of industry folks were really trying to deeply connect with education and find ways to get in with career tech ed specifically. And so he was kind of hearing from a few of us like, hey, can we be members of ACTE? And what does that mean as a business and industry person? And how can we get more involved other than just having a booth at Vision? How can we learn more about this community and how we can serve teachers and students? And so slowly, gradually, the coalition formed, and it's been a really cool experience and process to watch that evolution. But yeah, there are a lot of different associations from all kinds of different industries involved. And it's really a beautiful thing. We meet once a year at our summit, which takes place the day before Vision starts. So it'll be in San Antonio. And so if there are other industry folks that are involved, especially from associations or that are listening today, I really hope that you register for that. It's a great event. And we share best practices. We talk about what's happening in our industry and what workforce development or career awareness things that we're working on, so that we can kind of compare notes with each other, what's worked, what hasn't. And then we get to hear from folks from the Department of Ed and Department of Labor. And it's really beautiful how ACTE, I mean, we're not obviously the primary target audience for ACTE, but they recognize the value of us being involved. And they developed this, and it's super valuable. It's one of the things I won't miss every year.
That's awesome. We're obviously passionate about ACTE, TIVA, CTAT, all of our organizations that really help invest in the teachers. Because let's be honest, if we're not delivering a quality program, we're not attracting kids, we're not attracting them to the industry. And so, I appreciate what you guys are doing with ACTE. Workforce development has got to be just one of those areas where companies have got to invest in. So I appreciate what you guys are doing there.
Right. And so on top of all the stuff that you're doing with Skills USA, ACTE, and with the ACTE more, so why is the Business and Industry Consortium, that the short one, the short version of that name? Why is that how does that help out educators as a whole? And that's kind of, because I know it helps out, businesses and get them involved and all that, but how does it actually help out the educator itself?
It's a really good question. And there's a divide. I think everybody who's been trying to do this from either side recognizes there's a divide. There's a language barrier for sure. And just a disconnect in what each side sometimes thinks is reasonable or possible, or I'll give you an example. I was recently on a call where a group is trying to roll out an industry certification program and some of the folks on the group don't have a full understanding of how complex and unique each school's delivery system is. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but basically they were like, they want the schools to just take this certification program and do whatever, and not having an appreciation that we as industry need to be a little bit more involved in the process and hands-on and supporting the schools. Like, it's only going to benefit everybody if we help the schools walk through this process. If we want them to be engaging and adopting our certification or whatever product we want to offer, we need to help with that process. We can't just drop it at the door and go. It's not a pizza delivery, and so industry being involved, I would say that the folks that are involved in the coalition are the cream of the crop. Not biased or anything, but we are taking our time and taking it seriously to understand what the CTE environment is like and what challenges, we get to hear from, some of our guest speakers will be the teacher of the year from ACTE or, those sort of folks. So we get to hear what it's really like for you guys in the classroom, the challenges you're facing, and good examples of partnerships that they've had with other business and industry partners. And so it's educating us more, which allows the connection and the partnership with you guys to flow a lot better. And I do see it. I know plenty of industry folks who are very well-meaning and well-intentioned, and but they don't understand the landscape well, and it usually doesn't work well.
Right.
The partnerships either dissolve or end, kind of dramatically, or, something like that. And so when the more we can know about what you guys are up against and what you need and how we can serve you, the better it's going to be for everyone.
Exactly, because whenever I've worked with a lot of certification entities over the years with with my IT classes, and we've had some that have come through that have been really flexible with how they allow us to kind of do our certifications, because we do it different than Grand Prairie ISD does, or
Mhm.
another school up in California. The way that the education systems across the United States are different. I mean, they change. It's not a unified thing, and so and that's one thing that most of the certification entities that have stuck around and are have been around and are continuing to be around have been flexible with how we're able to get those certifications. How do we get the kids out there and certified? Some of them that are harder to work with, a lot of teachers are like, I don't want to do that, because they don't want to spend it. They don't have the time. They don't get paid enough, or whatever.
Right.
But it's the more flexible these companies are, the better it is for all of us, I think.
Absolutely. I've never heard it described as a language barrier, but that's a brilliant way to put that, because the education system is its own entity, and like you said, every state is different. And so what works in California may not work in Texas. And so
and that's there are definitely there's a mindset in industry that education should work like business and industry, or it should be a franchise. Every school should be a McDonald's, and you just like go in there and slap a burger together, and no. It's so unique in the States. And even when I talk to colleagues in Canada or other countries, they're like, why can't you just do something at the federal level? I'm like, because it's not possible. It just wouldn't work. It's just not, that's not how we're built. And personally, I'm thankful for that. I think that's good that our states are unique to be able to serve the economies in each state. So yeah, it's a language barrier on both sides for sure. Like we have our own things that, just jargon and terms that we rattle off and expect you guys to understand. And likewise, you have a lot of acronyms.
Yes.
And so like, I've prepared glossaries and indices of terms and stuff for different industry events I've gone to about this is what this is what workforce development means, and CTE, what is that acronym, and all this stuff. So it's just a lot of education. It's just like, trying to get everybody on the same page. One of my favorite things that I've taken away from the summit that I've used a lot. So in addition, with ACTE, the Ford Next Generation Learning Group, I don't know if you know them at all, but they're partners with ACTE on a lot of things, I think. So they were instrumental in starting the coalition, and they help moderate our summits and that sort of thing. But they introduced to us one year the Work-Based Learning Continuum. And I freaking love it. It's just the best graphic and concept, because for a while, apprenticeships were so hot. And every industry person that I would run across would be like, we need to start an apprenticeship. Let's go start an apprenticeship. And not understanding what a complex and really heavy investment that is to do something like that. And so that continuum talks about how, as an industry person, what is like a first step? What is dating versus getting in a relationship versus getting married to a school look like? Start out with inviting students to your shop for a shop tour, maybe, or going to the classroom for guest speaking. And then maybe you get into their advisory committee and you start attending meetings and get to know the school that way. So that's kind of, just the discovery phase of things. And then as it progresses, get into externships, internships with the students. So in the way I'll usually explain it is, if you want to do an apprenticeship, that's usually like you're going steady. You might be talking about moving in together, that sort of thing. An apprenticeship is certainly something that a company could do without having a school partner, I suppose. But yeah, if you want the investment and the buy-in of the school, you really need to understand that school and their needs. You can't just walk up to the school and say, I need employees. Here's my apprenticeship. Make it happen. That's not the mindset that you can have for connecting.
And realistically, a lot of times that is what's happening is they're like, hey, we need, and we really encourage. We have strong industry partners here locally, and we really encourage all of them. The best thing you can do is be in classrooms, is meet kids and build relationships, and we value our industry partners and we work very closely with them, but we still have lots of folks that are just like, well, this is what we need, so just produce it. And I'm like, well, that would be cool, but it doesn't really work that way.
It's a little different.
The need, framing things as needs, or like, I know that everybody already has, like, always has a WIFM. What am I going to get out of this encounter or relationship or whatever? But yeah, there's definitely a sour taste. I think it's gotten better. I've observed it getting a little bit better recently, but certainly in the early days when people were just kind of starting to explore, what does it mean to connect with a school? The assumption was the teacher is going to be asking for everything, and just hands out, like, give me lumber in my case, or, whatever. And then the perception from the teacher was that industry would just be demanding employees on day one.
Sure.
And so, that's a big part of the education. The way I educate folks is you can't come at it that way. It's about building a long-term relationship.
Can anybody be a part of your coalition for workforce development?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's intended for, the original audience was associations.
Okay.
So I'll go on my association rant briefly, really quick.
Please do.
I hope that all educators that are listening are involved in their industry's associations, because we are a wealth of knowledge and resources for our industry. Like, we're here to be a voice for whatever industry you're in. And so, like Brandon was saying earlier, a lot of them do certification. We do standards. We have a new curriculum and credentialing program and stuff. So we have resources. And these days we're so education friendly. Like, most of the time, I see memberships for teachers and students being free or severely discounted. And event registration is usually really affordable. There's generally scholarships going around, grants, that sort of thing. So we want you to be involved, and we will treat you like a rock star if you come to events. And if you find an association who doesn't, then find another one, is all I can say. But associations are huge. So I really hope that your educators are getting engaged with those and attending industry events. Like, go to trade shows. They're fun,
Absolutely.
and it's coming from a background, with a major trade show. It is the best way. It's the most, I would say, most economical, efficient way to see the industry all at once, and networking opportunities are huge there. And then if you can bring your students, if there is a student membership opportunity, like, get them on the mailing list. Yeah. If there's a student that's like really serious about, okay, they're going to go into this field, get them started young, and get them to events if you can. I know that's tricky, but
if I remember rightly, AWI has a student and an educator membership level. Is that not correct?
We don't right now. We might have in the past,
Okay,
and
gotcha.
it comes up from time to time, but we have an associate membership, which is $50.
That's what
And
I'm thinking of. Yeah.
So when teachers want to join, that's the best way to do it.
Cool.
But all of our teacher resources don't require membership. So yeah. And at the time when I was at AWFS, it was kind of the same thing. It was like, we don't want to add a barrier to teachers. So we had a separate distribution list for teachers. And so we would just reach out to them on a project basis.
Now, talking about that teacher support, this is a great segue into you guys, and you especially are taking the lead on doing some amazing things, providing support for teachers specifically. So talk a little bit about the resources that you guys have created for woodworking teachers.
Well, we are super excited about our brand new curriculum. So we just rolled out a year one woodworking curriculum, and it was done in partnership with the Kansas State Career Tech Ed program, which is out of Pittsburgh State in Kansas, not Pennsylvania. And I don't know if you all share show notes, share the link, because it's a little bit tricky to find. It's on the AWI website as well, but it's only visible. You have to log in and register as a teacher to be able to access the curriculum.
Okay.
But everything's up there and it's entirely free. And so even for other disciplines, that's a really cool resource. I am sure, because you're Texas, you have a lot of great resources like that already. But when I learned about the CTE website and all the curriculum and rubrics and lesson plans and all the cool stuff they have on there, I was like, wow, I wish I knew about this, because I know so many teachers that want exactly this. So it's entirely free. You just register as a teacher. It's for anyone, anywhere. You don't have to be in Kansas. So we're very excited. Year one is complete and it's launched, and we're working on years 2 and 3. So it's a completer pathway curriculum for woodworking.
Awesome.
And so we'll be at ACTE and or at Vision, we'll be doing a exhibitor seminar about that curriculum as well.
Cool. I will definitely check that out while we're there for sure.
Yeah, and we'll add those to the show notes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we don't usually have a lot of show notes to put out there, but yeah, but you have some great links and stuff, and
sure.
We'll definitely add those in there.
And that credentialing program that you guys have, talk a little bit about that.
We've been busy, so we just launched that too. So at our big event last month, we launched both of those things. So the credentialing program was initially developed for industry. So it's called Industry Solutions, or IIS for short. And that also is available on the AWI website. It's free. You just create a little account and you can get going on it. And so right now, the fundamentals of woodworking module is available, and so you can go through it. It's about 8 to 10 hours, and it's 61 different videos and different modules within the course that go through everything from how to read a tape measure, understanding lumber, some things that you'll see in a woodworking facility, and just kind of an overview of the trade of woodworking and our industry. So we'll be expanding on that to talk about our next topics will be cabinetry and finishing. And then employees or job seekers can complete an exam at the end of the course to get a credential. And so there will be fees in the future, but at this point, everything is free. And so as we were developing that, and we kind of pre-launched it at Skills USA National in June, and we heard from teachers how valuable it would be for students as well. And we were hoping that would be the case. And so it's very much available to students and teachers. And so again, you can just go to the AWI website and get registered, get your students on there and have them start. The videos are all between like 5 to 10 minutes long. And then there's quizzes, built within the videos. And then at the end to test their knowledge.
That's perfect. And you guys also have an area where you're talking about career awareness for students as well. Talk a little bit about youwood.com.
Yeah, so that actually kind of was a precursor to the ACTE coalition. It's kind of cool. There's a whole story about that doesn't matter over a beer. But yeah, kind of the same thinking, like with both the ACTE group and You Wood, that was people talking amongst themselves going, oh, we're trying to do this over here and we're trying to do the same thing over here. Why don't we join forces and do it all together? And certainly within the industry, there's a lot more synergy that can happen. And so, yeah, we had all these different associations that were addressing different segments of our industry for woodworking. And, they were trying to do scholarships over here and training and curriculum and credentials and, this and that. And so why can't we put it all under one umbrella and have a much larger voice and serve more students and job seekers and represent our industry better? And so that was the birth of You Wood. And so it's at this point, there are 4 active trade associations, kind of the major associations within our industry that support that campaign and that coalition. And so youwood.com is the website. It's entirely student and job seeker focused. So Randall, if you went on as someone who knows the industry, you'd be like, this is like baby stuff, it's very one-on-one. It's like, what are some career profiles and things like that, but it's meant for your students. There are videos on there. There's blog posts that are like career profiles of different individuals within the industry. And then there's listings of scholarships. There's lots of scholarships out there, and industry events that are student and teacher friendly and that sort of thing. So
really well done. I was crawling through it earlier, just looking at the different aspects in the videos, and there's just some really neat stuff. You've supplied us with some really great resources for sure.
And like for me, for like the because I'm not a woodworker, but whenever we were at like ACTE and all that, we actually had she was handing out like cups, and I have like a whole thing of cups in my house now of youwood.com. And my wife was like, what is this? I'm like,
That's
cups,
awesome.
free
That's
cups.
Brandon likes the swag.
Yeah, I'm a
yeah,
swag
for
person,
sure.
this.
For sure.
Well, now the pressure's on. I have to come up with something cooler for this year.
That's
so.
right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
was it? They had like the little tape measures for. Oh my gosh, for who was it that did tape measures? Anyways, Morton Building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they had the tape measures, but yeah, that was like a key ring tape measure. But yeah,
Perfect.
yeah,
Perfect.
cool swag.
Well, I mean, the more tape measures, the better. Because again, no one knows how to read tape measures, and we need that. That's like
the truth.
whenever somebody says, "What skills do you need in your industry?" Tape measure.
Tape
just
measure. That's it. That's it.
Basic
Definitely.
math.
Yeah.
So
Adria, thank you so much for being a part. If folks are listening to this and they're like, man, I got to be a part of this, how can they get connected with you?
Feel free to email me. It's wide open. It's Adria, ADRIA, no N's anywhere, just ADRIA at awinet.org. So that's my email. Feel free to share it widely. And you can go to awinet, awinet.org. That's our website. And you can find a lot of resources on there. But yeah, if you shoot me an email, then I can send you direct links to a lot of the things I talked about today.
That's perfect. I appreciate so much what you guys are doing. And like I said, really leading the industry in making those connections with really our students and the future of our workforce. And so thank you so much for doing that.
Yes, and
Thank you, Randall. Thank you, Brandon.
And thanks for spending the time. I know it's like only 2:00 at your time, but
yeah, I'm just getting started.
Thanks for blocking us off and talking with us, and we appreciate all y'all watching also, and we will catch y'all next time.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
You can watch and listen to all episodes of the CTE Podcast on Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube Podcast, and LubbockISDTV.com.